Everything has a story and a price, as the famous Pawn Stars say. That's especially true right now with gas, food, and just about everything else, as expensive as it is. But even with those higher prices, pawn shops are regaining business following the height of the pandemic.
At the age of 59, Rick Harrison, once regarded as a symbol of perseverance and success through the show Pawn Stars, shocked the world by confirming an unimaginable truth. His son had been sentenced to life in prison. This news came as a major blow, not only to loyal fans of Pawn Stars, but also to the wider public, who had admired the Harrison family as an example of resilience, achievement, and unity in the pawn business. What exactly happened? The son, who was once expected to carry on the family legacy, both a central figure on the show and a source of pride for Rick, had somehow made choices that led to such a severe punishment. Behind the glamorous exterior of Pawn Stars, are there dark secrets that have never come to light? And more importantly, is the sentence real, or is this just another story blown out of proportion by the media? 1. Rick Harrison and his role within the family. Rick Harrison isn't just the familiar face associated with Pawn Stars, he's also the backbone of the Harrison family. With a determined personality, extensive knowledge, and strong leadership skills, Rick has built the image of a devoted father and savvy businessman in the eyes of the public. Pawn Stars, a reality show centered around the pawn industry, helped launch him and his family into the spotlight and turned the gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas into a world-famous destination. Rick served not only as the show's frontman, but also as its heart and soul. What set him apart was his focus on the historical background of each item, rather than just its monetary worth. This approach made the show more engaging and reflected Rick's life philosophy. Everything has a story, and it's the story that gives it true value. Beyond his television career, Rick is also known as a devoted father. He had high hopes for his son, Cory Harrison, who was considered the likely successor to the family business. Cory, also known as Big Hoss, had appeared alongside his father on the show since its early days, and was seen as the natural heir to the gold and silver pawn shop. However, things didn't unfold as Rick had envisioned. Even though Rick always tried to balance work and family life, his relationship with his children was often strained under the pressure of fame. Cory, despite the expectations placed on him, frequently found himself entangled in various issues, ranging from personal disputes to public controversies. These problems not only tarnished the family's image, but also forced Rick to make some very difficult decisions. 2. Cory Harrison's personal life and troubles. As the eldest son of Rick Harrison, Cory was once seen as the one who would inherit his father's entire business and reputation. To fans of the show Pawn Stars, he was a promising heir, intelligent, passionate, and ambitious. However, behind the polished images on television, Cory's relationship with his father and the personal troubles he faced painted a picture filled with conflict and upheaval. Cory Harrison grew up in the pawn business, where his father Rick was always seen as a symbol of success. From a young age, Cory was trained to take over the gold and silver pawn shop. He learned how to assess the value of items, negotiate deals, and uphold the business's reputation. Yet living constantly in the shadow of his father made Cory feel stifled. Rick was a strict and demanding parent. He not only expected perfection in the workplace, but also wanted Cory to surpass his own accomplishments. In the early episodes of Pawn Stars, viewers could easily sense the tension between the two generations. Rick frequently criticized Cory on camera, from how he priced items to how he handled customer interactions. Those criticisms not only put pressure on Cory, but also created a lingering strain in their relationship. While Cory always respected his father, he began to feel that Rick didn't truly believe in his capabilities. This led to heated arguments behind the scenes that the audience never saw. While Rick Harrison tried to maintain the image of a model father and successful businessman, Cory repeatedly got caught up in personal scandals that severely damaged the family's public image. One of the most shocking incidents took place at a bar in Jefferson City. According to eyewitnesses, Cory had been drinking non-stop for an entire week. In a drunken state, He lost control, urinated publicly inside the bar, and even threw chairs at surrounding tables. The incident quickly spread across social media, making Cory the target of intense criticism. Rick Harrison was reportedly furious when he found out. An anonymous source from the Pawn Stars production team revealed that Rick called Cory into a private meeting and yelled at him harshly. "Do you have any idea what you've done to this family's reputation? You didn't just ruin your own image, you dragged me and this entire shop down with you." A statement reportedly made by Rick during their confrontation. However, things didn't stop there. Cory also got caught up in another lawsuit related to an RV he rented for a vacation. The owner accused him of returning the vehicle in terrible condition, with parts of the interior damaged and trash scattered everywhere. The estimated repair costs reached tens of thousands of dollars. Cory tried to explain that the situation wasn't entirely his fault, claiming the RV had already experienced technical issues beforehand. But once again, the incident left Rick deeply disappointed. Cory's personal troubles not only hurt his father but also disrupted the harmony within the family. Rick, who was used to being in control of everything, started to feel powerless in the face of his son's unpredictable behavior. On the other hand, Cory felt his father was overly critical and failed to understand the pressure he was under. The arguments between Rick and Cory extended beyond just work and personal matters. A source close to the Harrison family revealed that there had been occasions when the father and son had loud arguments right inside the store, in front of both staff and customers. One particularly tense moment occurred when Rick decided to restructure the store's management, reducing Cory's decision-making authority. Cory felt that his father no longer trusted him, while Rick insisted that the move was meant to protect the shop from his son's mistakes. Things escalated further when Cory, in a fit of anger, declared that he didn't need the store and could build a career on his own. Rick, though clearly furious, responded coldly, "If you think you can do it, go ahead. But don't forget, you wouldn't have this without me." After a string of scandals and endless clashes with his father, Cory came to the realization that he needed to make a change. One of his first steps was to undergo weight loss surgery to improve his health. Weighing in at nearly 400 pounds, Cory wasn't just facing serious health risks. He also had to deal with public scrutiny and judgment. The surgery helped him lose over 100 pounds, giving him a completely new appearance. But more importantly, it marked the beginning of a personal transformation. He started getting more involved in the store's operations, focusing on learning and correcting the mistakes he had made in the past. Gradually, the relationship between Cory and Rick began to heal. Although differences still remained, both of them realized they needed to learn how to understand and support each other. Rick, though always strict, eventually came to accept that his son wasn't perfect, but he was genuinely trying to become a better person. Despite Cory's efforts to change, the past scandals still left a noticeable scar on the Harrison family's image. Pawn Stars, once seen as a symbol of family unity, had now become overshadowed by internal conflicts. Cory, who had once been expected to take over the family business, now faced the question of whether he was truly capable of handling that responsibility. Yet while Austin's story remained unresolved, another one of Rick's sons got involved in a legal controversy that shocked the public. The legal troubles and scandals of Austin Chumlee Russell. Austin Chumlee Russell has long been considered the most entertaining character on Pawn Stars. With his humorous, approachable personality and occasional goofiness, he adds a distinct flavor of fun to the show. Viewers love Chumlee because he stands out. He's not as strict or serious as Rick or Cory. He simply brings laughter and a sense of ease to the audience. However, behind that comedic on-screen persona lies a real-life story filled with controversies and legal issues that have shocked many and seriously affected both his reputation and the show's. Chumlee appears on Pawn Stars as a supporting cast member, but his role is far from insignificant. He captures viewers' attention with witty remarks and silly yet endearing moments. On the show, Rick and Cory often tease him for his mistakes or lack of professional knowledge, but that very dynamic has made Chumlee a lovable and relatable character. That said, Chumlee's life off-camera is quite different from his on-screen image. Some people close to him have revealed that he carries more pressure than most fans realize. Labeled as the useless guy on the show, he felt the need to prove himself in real life. But instead of seeking self-improvement, Chumlee got caught up in partying, toxic relationships, and even drug use. These issues gradually came to light through a series of scandals that he faced during his time on Pawn Stars. In 2012, Chumlee encountered his first major incident when TMZ released a video showing him involved in a fight in Hollywood. In the footage, he is seen shoving a man, leaving the individual injured and bleeding. Chumlee claimed he acted in self-defense after being threatened, but the incident marked the beginning of more serious legal trouble. 4 years later, in 2016, he was arrested in a highly publicized case. Police raided Chumlee's home in Las Vegas while investigating a sexual assault allegation. During the search, they discovered a large quantity of drugs, including methamphetamine, marijuana, and unprescribed medication. In addition, authorities seized 12 firearms, 8 of which were not legally registered. The news quickly spread and sparked a wave of intense public backlash. The image of Chumlee as a cheerful, friendly face, once familiar to TV audiences, was now replaced by someone associated with drugs and firearms. Viewers were not only disappointed, but also began to question the truth behind the show Pawn Stars. The investigation following his 2016 arrest lasted for several months, with the media continuously reporting on the developments. Chumlee faced the risk of being charged with a series of serious offenses, including possession of illegal substances, unlawful firearm ownership, and even sexual assault. However, to avoid prison time, Chumlee agreed to a plea deal in May 2016. As part of the agreement, he pleaded guilty to 2 charges: illegal drug possession and unlawful possession of firearms. In exchange, the more severe accusations, including the sexual assault charge, were dropped. He was sentenced to 3 years of probation and required to complete drug rehabilitation and educational programs. While he managed to avoid jail, the plea deal had a major negative impact on Chumlee's career. He faced relentless public criticism, and the reputation of Pawn Stars was also tarnished by the scandal. After staying out of prison, Chumlee gradually realized he couldn't continue living the way he had before. He chose to turn his life around, starting by improving his physical health. Like Cory Harrison, Chumlee opted to undergo weight loss surgery to get healthier. He shed over 100 pounds and adopted a more active and balanced lifestyle. He also made efforts to rebuild his image by focusing on his work and staying away from the temptations that had once led him into trouble. He opened a candy shop called Chumlee's Candy on the boulevard right next to the gold and silver pawn shop. It wasn't just a fresh start. It was his way of proving that he could find success without relying on Pawn Stars. In addition, his friendship with Cory Harrison played a key role in his journey of self-improvement. Cory, who had also gone through tough times, became a major source of support for Chumlee. The two have consistently backed each other through important decisions, and it was this support system that helped Chumlee avoid completely falling apart after the scandals. 4. Conflicts within the expert team of Pawn Stars. One of the key elements that contribute to the appeal of Pawn Stars is the team of experts who frequently appear on the show. These experts not only provide appraisals for unique items, but also offer in-depth insights into their historical, cultural, and artistic value. However, behind the scenes, this team has also been caught up in controversies and scandals that have impacted the reputation of both the show and the Harrison family. Since the show first aired in 2009, the experts have become an essential part of Pawn Stars. They are invited to evaluate and determine the worth of rare items, ranging from ancient coins and artwork to historically significant artifacts. Thanks to their deep knowledge and approachable style, these experts have won the audience's affection and helped the show build trust with viewers. Whenever a special item is brought into the shop, Rick Harrison's call for an expert to authenticate it has become a signature feature of the show. This not only enhances the show's credibility, but also excites viewers as they learn more about the item's background and historical value. However, as the show gained massive popularity, cracks began to appear within the expert group. Some individuals, once admired by the public for their expertise, unexpectedly found themselves involved in serious scandals that dealt a blow to the show's credibility. The first notable case involved Johnny Jimenez Jr., a specialist in vintage toys who was once a familiar face to Pawn Stars fans. He was well known for his accurate appraisals of toys from past eras and often shared fascinating stories about their history. But that image crumbled when Johnny became involved in a domestic violence incident in 2015. The incident involving Johnny Jimenez Jr., the show's vintage toy expert, was considered one of the most damaging scandals in the show's history. Once beloved for his knowledge of 19th and 20th century toys, Johnny became the center of public attention in 2015 after being accused of assaulting his girlfriend outside a well-known Las Vegas restaurant. According to reports from police and local media, the incident occurred in June 2015 outside Taverna Costera, a popular venue in downtown Las Vegas known for its lively parties. A video recorded by a bystander showed Johnny and his girlfriend in a heated argument. In the footage, he was allegedly seen grabbing her arm, pushing her against a wall, and yelling while she struggled to break free. Several witnesses recalled hearing the woman screaming and crying just before police were called to the scene. Las Vegas police responded quickly and arrested Johnny Jimenez Jr. on domestic violence charges. According to the Las Vegas Police Department's report, the victim, identified as Johnny's longtime girlfriend, sustained minor injuries and showed signs of distress. However, she declined to provide further evidence or file an official complaint, resulting in the case remaining at the level of initial allegations. As soon as the news broke, the video rapidly spread across social media platforms and major news outlets such as TMZ and the Daily Mail. Johnny's once respected image as a knowledgeable expert on Pawn Stars was overshadowed by the portrayal of a man who had lost control and exhibited violent behavior. Viewers of the show expressed clear disappointment. On forums dedicated to Pawn Stars, thousands of posts criticizing Johnny appeared repeatedly. "We used to think he was trustworthy and had good character, but behavior like that is hard to accept," one Reddit user commented. Some even suggested the show should remove Johnny from the expert team out of concern that his presence could harm Pawn Stars' reputation. Facing intense public backlash, Johnny quickly came forward to deny the allegations. In an interview with the Las Vegas Review-Journal, he emphasized that he never intended to hurt his girlfriend and claimed the entire situation was a misunderstanding. Johnny clarified, "We had a huge argument and I just wanted to hold her back to keep things from getting out of hand. I absolutely did not hit her." However, the public wasn't convinced by his explanation. Most viewers believed that regardless of the reason, Johnny's actions were inexcusable, especially given his role as a representative of a show meant to be both educational and entertaining, like Pawn Stars. Following the incident, Johnny Jimenez Jr. stopped appearing regularly on Pawn Stars as he had before. Although the show never officially announced his removal from the expert lineup, his noticeable absence from numerous episodes afterward was seen as a subtle move by the production team to minimize the fallout from the scandal. Moreover, Johnny's personal career took a significant hit. Vintage toy stores that had previously worked with him for appraisals and sales cut ties. Some former clients even demanded refunds, saying they no longer wanted to keep items appraised by someone linked to a domestic violence case. According to a report from Deadline, the scandal led to a sharp drop in viewership for the episode featuring Johnny. In July 2015, the show's average viewership fell from 3.4 million to 2.9 million per episode, a 15% decrease. It was one of the biggest ratings drops Pawn Stars had experienced during that time. In addition, The incident sparked questions about whether the Pawn Stars production team properly vetted experts' backgrounds before bringing them on the show. Many viewers sent letters to the History Channel, urging the program to be more transparent about how they choose their experts. The scandal involving Johnny Jimenez Jr. not only shook Pawn Stars, but also served as a powerful reminder of the importance of maintaining personal integrity and responsibility when in the public eye. Rick Harrison, the show's founder, once said in an interview, "We can't completely control every individual's actions, but we always expect that anyone appearing on the show will behave appropriately. These kinds of situations are absolutely not what we want to see happen." Despite his efforts to return to normal life after the scandal, Johnny's image in the eyes of the audience never fully recovered. More notably, the incident became a dark chapter in the history of Pawn Stars, a show once regarded as a symbol of trustworthiness and professionalism. Shortly after Johnny's unnecessary controversy, another expert, John Resnikoff, who specialized in autographs and vintage documents, also found himself caught up in a scandal. The incident occurred during an episode aired in 2011, when a customer brought in a script of The Godfather to the gold and silver pawn shop, claiming it was signed by Al Pacino. The seller insisted it was the signature of the film's lead actor, which greatly increased the script's value, potentially to tens of thousands of dollars. As usual, Rick Harrison invited John Resnikoff to verify the item. With his characteristic confidence, John immediately confirmed that the signature on the document did indeed belong to Al Pacino. He also provided a detailed analysis of the handwriting, comparing it to multiple samples he had examined in the past. Based on his assessment, Rick decided to purchase the script at a high price, considering it a valuable piece to showcase in the shop. However, after the episode aired, some experts and collectors began to question the authenticity of the signature. Upon closer examination, they discovered that the autograph wasn't from Al Pacino at all. It was actually from Al Ruddy, the film's producer. This revelation quickly spread across autograph collecting forums and social media, putting both John Resnikoff and Pawn Stars under heavy criticism. The incident sparked intense debate among Pawn Stars fans. Some viewers considered it a minor mistake, understandable given that both Al Ruddy and Al Pacino were major figures in the making of The Godfather. However, many others saw it as a serious blunder, especially coming from a renowned expert like John Resnikoff. On forums dedicated to autograph collecting, many users voiced their disappointment. If a top-tier expert like John can make such a mistake, how are we supposed to trust the other appraisals on the show? Some even claimed that the incident not only damaged John's personal credibility, but also cast doubt on the value of items previously authenticated on Pawn Stars. The error also led viewers to question the authenticity verification process on the show. Some wondered whether the featured experts were genuinely vetted for their qualifications or simply selected to make the episodes more engaging. In response to the wave of criticism, John Resnikoff explained that the mistake occurred because the signatures of Al Ruddy and Al Pacino share several similar features. He also pointed out that in the autograph authentication field, minor errors are sometimes inevitable, especially when conclusions have to be drawn within a limited time frame. I've examined thousands of signatures over the course of my career, and I've always taken pride in my accuracy. But I'm still human, and humans aren't perfect, John said in an interview. He also expressed regret that the situation had affected the show's credibility and promised to be more cautious in future evaluations. John Resnikoff left an indelible stain on the history of Pawn Stars. Although the show continued to air and maintained a steady viewership, the incident caused a portion of the audience to lose trust in it. In addition, Rick Harrison had to deal with a wave of uncomfortable questions stemming from the mistake. In an interview following the incident, Rick admitted that it was a valuable lesson for both himself and the production team. We always strive to provide the most accurate information to our viewers, but sometimes mistakes are unavoidable. What matters is that we learn from them and make sure they don't happen again, Rick explained. Moreover, the incident forced the production crew to make operational adjustments. They began conducting more thorough evaluations of the background and qualifications of experts before inviting them on the show. At the same time, the authentication procedures were also improved to prevent similar errors in the future. Drew Max, a specialist in sports memorabilia, became the most controversial figure among the show's experts. In 2015, he was accused of using his reputation on the show to authenticate a series of fake sports collectibles, leading to numerous buyers being deceived. According to various reports, Drew had certified and appraised numerous counterfeit items, including jerseys worn by famous athletes and signed balls. These items were later sold at high prices during auctions, causing buyers to lose thousands of dollars. Once the truth came to light, the victims filed lawsuits against Drew, resulting in one of the biggest scandals ever linked to Pawn Stars. The incident not only shattered the audience's trust, but also raised serious questions about the transparency and credibility of the show. In the eyes of the public, the appearance of an expert on Pawn Stars no longer guaranteed the authenticity of the items featured. The series of controversies surrounding the team of experts brought significant negative consequences for Pawn Stars. A show once beloved for its mix of entertainment and educational content was now being questioned for its authenticity. Many viewers began to wonder whether the experts on screen were truly trustworthy or simply performers hired to boost the show's appeal. Furthermore, the scandals put Pawn Stars under tremendous pressure from public opinion. As the person in charge, Rick Harrison was compelled to issue a public apology and promised to improve the verification process for items featured on the show. Still, these assurances weren't enough to erase the doubts that had already taken root in viewers' minds. Beyond damaging the show's credibility, the controversies also forced the production team to shift the program's direction. Rather than focusing on the items and the stories behind them, the show began to delve more into the personal lives of the Harrison family, causing it to lose some of its original value. Despite the severe impact caused by the expert-related scandals, they also offered important lessons for Rick Harrison and the production team. First and foremost, the incident highlighted the critical importance of selecting and properly vetting experts. Placing trust in individuals lacking integrity or qualifications can lead to serious, unforeseen consequences. Moreover, these scandals served as a wake-up call for the reality television industry. In the pursuit of captivating content, shows sometimes compromise on authenticity, resulting in a loss of audience trust. In the end, the story of Pawn Stars and its expert team clearly shows that reputation is not built solely on success, but also on how one confronts and overcomes their mistakes. 5. How Rick responded to public backlash. Rick Harrison, widely regarded as the heart of Pawn Stars, is not only a successful businessman, but also a symbol of strength and resilience. However, a series of troubles involving his family, friends, and expert team put him in a situation he had never faced before. As both the head of the show and the family, Rick found himself under immense pressure from the public, the media, and even those closest to him. When the news confirming his son Cory Harrison's life sentence came out, Rick had no choice but to speak up. In an interview with the press, he admitted it was a major shock for both him and his family. "No one ever wants something like this to happen, especially to their own child," Rick said. "But I believe we have to face the truth, no matter how painful it is." Rick's honest and straightforward approach earned him support from some viewers. However, not everyone was sympathetic. Some critics argued that Rick had failed in his role as a father. They claimed that his deep focus on work and the show had caused him to neglect Cory's upbringing, ultimately leading to his serious mistakes. Still, Rick didn't shy away from the criticism. Instead, he chose to confront it calmly and rationally. In a public statement, Rick acknowledged that he wasn't perfect and emphasized that every family has its own struggles. "We're not just a TV family. We're real people, with successes, with mistakes, and with lessons to learn," he explained. Despite the public scrutiny, Rick continued to prioritize his family above all else. He understood that in order to get through this difficult time, the most important thing was keeping the Harrison family united and intact. Rick made an effort to maintain his relationship with Cory, even though their bond had been strained by the series of scandals. He visited Cory in prison regularly, bringing books and words of encouragement, hoping Cory would learn from his missteps. "I can't change the past, but I can help my son build a better future," Rick shared. Beyond Cory, Rick also made a conscious effort to repair his relationships with other family members, particularly his mother, Joanne Harrison. After a legal dispute over the ownership of the gold and silver pawn shop, things between Rick and his mom had become tense. But Rick realized that in tough times, family needed to come together more than ever. He apologized to his mother and promised to resolve all conflicts in a fair and respectful way. On top of that, Rick also stepped up to support Chumlee on his journey toward self-improvement. Although Chumlee had caused his share of trouble, Rick still considered him a key part of the family and was always ready to help. He encouraged Chumlee to stay on a healthy path and focus on new business ventures, like the candy store Chumlee had recently opened. After going through so many scandals, Rick realized he couldn't rely on Pawn Stars alone to maintain his career and reputation. He began exploring new directions, both to refresh his public image and to safeguard the legacy the Harrison family had built. One of Rick's first moves was to upgrade the operations at the gold and silver pawn shop. He focused on improving service quality, training staff properly, and making sure all transactions were transparent and trustworthy. Rick also increased collaboration with reputable experts to help rebuild the trust of both customers and TV audiences. In addition, Rick expanded his business ventures into new areas. He invested in real estate and media projects, hoping to create more stable sources of income. Rick also considered producing a new television show that would focus on cultural and historical themes rather than continuing to revolve around the pawn shop. On a personal level, Rick began spending more time on himself and with his loved ones. He realized that in the end, health and family happiness are what truly matter. Rick often takes part in charitable activities, such as organizing auctions to raise funds for underprivileged children and cancer patients. Looking back on his journey, Rick Harrison admitted that he and his family had to make significant sacrifices to achieve success. Fame and fortune could never compensate for the emotional toll they had to endure. Still, Rick came to understand that those very hardships helped him grow and gave him a deeper appreciation for the true meaning of life. Rick shared that the most valuable lesson he's learned is that everyone makes mistakes, but what really counts is how we face them and move forward. Life is never perfect, but if you're willing to learn and grow, you'll always find light at the end of the tunnel, Rick expressed. Despite facing many challenges, Rick Harrison has remained resilient and continued moving forward. He's not just a businessman, he's also a devoted father, a caring son, and a loyal friend. The story of Rick and the Harrison family stands as a clear testament to perseverance, dedication, and the power of family bonds. With relentless effort, Rick Harrison hopes that one day his family will overcome all hardships and find peace again. No matter what the future holds, Rick believes that the legacy he and his family built through Pawn Stars will always represent resilience and innovation. The shocking story surrounding Rick Harrison's family has left everyone stunned. Is this the price of fame and pressure, or are there still hidden truths waiting to come to light? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more dramatic stories to come. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.